At 2:17 in the morning, my roommate climbed into my bed, pressed one hand over my mouth, and whispered, "Don't turn on the light. My ex is standing in the hallway." For one disoriented second, I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard the floorboard outside my room creak. Lena Ortiz lay rigid beside me beneath the blanket, still wearing the black dress she had left in that evening. Rain dampened her hair. Her breathing was shallow and fast, and the hand over my mouth trembled hard enough for me to feel it against my jaw. For months earlier, on the day she moved into the spare room of my Brooklyn apartment, Lena had looked me directly in the eye and said, "Just so there's never any confusion, I only date women." I had believed her. Now her body was pressed against mine while another woman stood outside my bedroom. "Lena," a voice called softly from the hall. "I know you're in there." The voice was calm. Educated. Almost affectionate. Lena closed her eyes. I gently moved her hand away from my mouth. "Who is she?" I whispered. "Camille Ross." The name woke me faster than fear could. Camille Ross was vice president of clinical operations at Asterion Therapeutics, one of the largest medical device companies on the East Coast. She appeared in business magazines, testified before Senate committees, and spoke at conferences about ethical leadership. She was also Lena's former boss. Apparently, she was her former girlfriend too. The doorknob moved. I sat up. Lena caught my wrist. "She still has a key," she whispered. "How?" "I gave it to her last year. You moved in 4 months ago." "I know." That answer contained enough problems for an entire week, but we did not have a week. Camille tried the door again. "Lena, open it. We need to fix this before you make it worse." "What did you do?" I asked. Lena looked at me in the darkness. "I copied files from Asterion." The bedroom door opened half an inch before the security chain caught. A thin line of hallway light cut across the floor. Camille looked through the opening. All I could see was one pale eye and the edge of a perfectly styled blonde bob. Then she saw the shape beside me. Her expression changed. "Really?" she said. "This is your plan?" I got out of bed and crossed the room. Lena remained beneath the blanket, not seductive, not triumphant, and not remotely comfortable. She looked like someone hiding under the nearest available piece of armor. I kept the chain in place. "You entered my apartment without permission," I said. Camille's gaze moved over my bare chest and sleep-wrinkled sweatpants. "You must be Noah Bennett. You must be leaving." She smiled. It was an impressive smile. Warm enough for a photograph. Controlled enough for a courtroom. "Lena took confidential patient data from my company. I came to recover it before federal law becomes involved." Lena spoke from behind me. She falsified the trial reports. Camille did not even look toward her. "Lena is unstable. She has been since our relationship ended." "Do you always break into unstable people's apartments at 2 in the morning?" I asked. The smile thinned. "This is not your concern. You used a key to enter my home. You made it my concern." Camille lowered her voice. "Mr. Bennett, I know you work for Kendall Risk Partners." That stopped me. Kendall was a forensic accounting and regulatory audit firm. Asterion had been one of our largest clients for 3 years. Camille continued. "Your employer signed off on the same clinical controls Lena is accusing me of manipulating. If she releases stolen documents, your career may disappear with mine." Behind me, Lena whispered, "That's why I needed to tell you tonight." I looked back at her. Needed to tell me. Not wanted. Camille saw the doubt enter my face and pressed harder. "She rented your room because of who you work for." Silence filled the apartment. Lena sat up. "Noah. Is that true?" She did not answer quickly enough. Camille's smile returned. You see the problem. I looked at the woman in my hallway and the woman in my bed. One had entered my apartment with an old key. The other had entered my life with a lie. Neither was getting what she wanted that night. I opened my phone and dialed 911. Camille's expression hardened. You do not want police writing a report about this. I do. You could lose your job. Then I'll lose it with documentation. She stared at me through the narrow opening. For the first time, I saw the person beneath the executive polish. Not anger. Calculation. She was deciding whether force would cost more than retreat. Sirens sounded faintly several blocks away. Camille stepped back. This was your last chance, Lena. Lena's voice shook. No. It was yours. Camille walked toward the front door. Before leaving, she looked back at me. Ask your roommate why she told you she only dated women. The apartment door closed. I locked it, slid the deadbolt, and wedged a dining chair beneath the handle. Then I returned to the bedroom. Lena had moved to the edge of the mattress. Her bare feet touched the floor, and her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap that the knuckles had turned white. You can put on a shirt, she said. I can also ask questions. I know. Did you choose this apartment because I worked for Kendall? Yes. The answer hit more cleanly than an excuse would have. Did you search my files? No. Did you intend to? She looked at the floor. At first. I laughed once, without humor. And the part about only dating women? Lena looked up. That was true when I said it in every way I needed it to be. That sentence sounds expensive. Explain it in normal language. Her eyes filled. I had only dated women for 9 years. I had just left Camille. I needed a male roommate who wouldn't treat every shared dinner or late-night conversation like an invitation. That part one understand. There was another part. What? I was attracted to you before I moved in. I stared at her. She gave a broken little laugh. I saw you twice at the apartment before signing the lease. I knew I might start wanting something I had no right to want while I was lying about why I was there. So I made a rule out loud and hoped I would become the person who could keep it. The police knocked on the front door. Lena stood. I stepped away from the bed. 4 months of shared coffee, grocery lists, bad movies, and quiet evenings rearranged themselves in my memory. Nothing physical had happened between us. But something had happened. And she had known it long before I allowed myself to name it. I looked at the woman who had climbed into my bed because she was frightened and at the open doorway where her former girlfriend had stood threatening both our careers. Tonight, I said, you sleep in your own room. Pain crossed Lena's face. I wasn't trying to. I know. But fear doesn't get to make decisions for either of us. I went to answer the police. Behind me, Lena said quietly, the files prove Asterion buried 17 device failures. I stopped. One of the patients died 3 weeks ago, she continued. And your name is on the audit appendix. They used to hide it. That was the moment the night stopped being about my roommate's lie. It became about mine. A lie I had signed without knowing it was false. 4 months earlier, Lena had arrived with 3 cardboard boxes, 1 suitcase, and a potted basil plant that died before the end of the week. My previous roommate had moved to Seattle with 2 weeks' notice, leaving me responsible for a 2-bedroom apartment I could not comfortably afford alone. A friend posted the room in a private neighborhood group. Lena answered within an hour. She was 29, worked in clinical data management, paid 3 months in advance, and had references so polished they looked prepared for litigation. The first time she toured the apartment, she stood in the living room wearing a green raincoat and asked practical questions. How often did the radiator fail? Did the upstairs neighbors have children? Was the landlord responsive? Did I bring dates home? Sometimes, I said. Not often. She nodded. I only date women. The statement came without embarrassment or invitation. Okay. I'm saying it because straight men sometimes agree to be roommates and then get offended when friendship remains friendship. I'm saying okay because I heard you the first time. She studied me, perhaps expecting defensiveness. I pointed toward the kitchen. The left cabinet sticks. The shower loses pressure if someone runs the dishwasher. I make coffee at 6:30 and I'm not changing that for anyone. Her mouth curved. I can live with coffee. She moved in the following Saturday. For the first month, we were polite strangers. We divided refrigerator shelves with painter's tape. We created a shared spreadsheet for bills. We learned that she hated cilantro and I hated scented candles. She watched true crime documentaries while folding laundry. I listened to baseball games through headphones while working. Then ordinary life began erasing the lines. She left soup outside my door when I had the flu. I repaired the hinge on her jewelry box. She started bringing home almond croissants from a bakery near her office. I taught her how to make my grandfather's tomato sauce. She criticized the amount of garlic, then ate 2 bowls. Some nights, she sat at the kitchen table while I reviewed audit schedules. She never asked about Asterion directly. That fact mattered later. At the time, I thought it meant she respected my work. Lena rarely spoke about Camille. I knew there had been a serious relationship. I knew it ended badly. I knew Camille sometimes sent flowers that Lena threw away without reading the card. Once, after a package arrived from Asterion's legal department, I found Lena sitting on the bathroom floor with the unopened envelope beside her. Do you need help? I asked from the doorway. No. Do you want company? She looked up. That's a different question. I sat outside the bathroom with my back against the wall. We stayed there for 20 minutes without speaking. Afterward, she made popcorn and forced me to watch a terrible romantic comedy in which every problem could have been solved by one honest sentence. You hate this movie, I said. I hate everyone in this movie. Then why are we watching it? Because it ends well. That was Lena's contradiction. She claimed not to trust easy endings, but she kept searching for them in stories. I started noticing things I had no business noticing. The way she tucked her hair behind one ear while reading. The crease between her eyebrows when she concentrated. The fact that she sang quietly while cooking but stopped if she realized someone could hear. Each time, I reminded myself of the rule. She only dated women. More importantly, she was my roommate. Our home worked because neither of us asked it to become something else. The first crack appeared 6 weeks before she climbed into my bed. I returned from work to find Lena standing in the kitchen with a flash drive in one hand and a glass of water in the other. She dropped the drive when she saw me. What's that? I asked. Work. You look like work just threatened your family. She picked it up. Long day. That night, she checked the front lock 3 times. 2 days later, someone followed her home from the subway. She said she had imagined it. A week after that, our landlord called to ask why a woman claiming to be Lena's emergency contact wanted access to the apartment. Who? I asked. Camille, Lena said. Her face had gone pale. I changed the cylinder in the front door lock that evening. I did not know Camille had copied the old key. Lena watched me work from the hallway. You don't have to do that. She tried to enter my home. She said she was worried about me. Are you worried about her? Lena did not answer. After I finished, she brought me a beer. You're annoyingly decent, she said. I have many worse qualities. I'm sure. Her fingers touched mine around the bottle. Neither of us moved for half a second too long. Then Lena pulled away. I only date women, she said. It sounded less like information that time. It sounded like a door being locked from the inside. The police treated Camille's entry as a domestic dispute until I showed them the security chain and the messages she had sent Lena. Come home. You are confused. The files belong to me. I can still protect you if you stop. The final message had arrived at 1:46 a.m. If Noah sees what you took, he goes down with you. That earned us a report number and a recommendation to seek a restraining order. It did not earn us immediate protection from a company with $40 billion in market value. At 4 in the morning, Lena and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table. She had changed into sweatpants and an oversized sweatshirt. I had put on a shirt. The ordinary clothing made the conversation feel more dangerous, not less. Show me the files, I said. She placed the flash drive between us. No. I stared at her. You climbed into my bed, brought your ex into my apartment, told me you targeted me because of my employer, and informed me my name is attached to falsified reports. This is the wrong time to discover boundaries. I need your promise first. What promise? That you won't copy anything or contact Kendall until you understand what you're seeing. You don't get to control my response. No. But I get to decide whether I hand you stolen patient records. She was right. I hated that. What can you show me legally? De-identified summaries. Audit logs. Change histories. Show me those. She inserted the drive into an old laptop that had never connected to our home network. The first spreadsheet listed adverse events from the clinical trial of Esterient's new cardiac monitoring implant, PulseCore. The device was designed to detect dangerous rhythm changes and automatically alert physicians. Esterient had spent 6 years and hundreds of millions of dollars developing it. My firm had reviewed financial controls, vendor relationships, and data governance procedures associated with the trial. I had signed one appendix confirming that Esterient's reported adverse event totals reconciled with the database extracts our team received. The spreadsheet on Lena's screen contained 17 additional cases. Battery failures. False negative readings. Delayed alerts. 3 emergency surgeries. 1 death. Why weren't these in the official dataset? I asked. They were reclassified as user error or unrelated cardiac progression. By whom? Camille's office. Did she make the medical determinations? No. She pressured investigators to change them. Lena opened the audit history. Her credentials appeared beside several revisions. You approved the changes, I said. I did not. Your login did. She had access. Why? Lena's jaw tightened. Because we lived together. Because she helped me when my mother was sick. Because I trusted her before I understood that she treated trust like an administrative permission. I leaned back. Camille had described Lena as unstable. Lena described Camille as controlling. Both descriptions could be true. Evidence mattered more. Where does my name appear? She opened a PDF. Kendall Risk Partners Independent Controls Appendix. Prepared by Noah Bennett, Senior Manager. The signature was mine. The appendix certified that the adverse event extraction process had not been materially altered after source reconciliation. Except the file metadata showed the final dataset had been replaced 11 hours after our team completed testing. Someone used the clean data for our audit. Then substituted the altered data for regulators. Kendall may not know, Lena said. My boss reviewed this. Who? Evan Pierce. Lena's expression changed. What? I saw him with Camille 2 nights before I copied the files. Professionally? They were arguing in the underground garage. He said, you promised the omitted cases would never reach our archive. I looked at the document again. Evan had recruited me out of graduate school. He taught me how to question numbers without humiliating the people behind them. He attended my father's funeral. He knew the name of my sister's children. He wouldn't falsify an audit, I said. Lena's expression was careful. You sound like I did when people warned me about Camille. The comparison angered me. Do not make my loyalty evidence of guilt. I'm not. You chose me because I worked under him. Yes. You planned to search my files. Yes. How far did you get? I never opened your computer. Why? Lena looked at me. Because you trusted me in your home. You were already lying. I know. She did not defend herself. That made it harder to remain certain which part of my anger was useful. I closed the laptop. We need an attorney. I have one. Of course you do. My friend Maya Chen handles whistleblower cases. Call her. It's 4:30. You climbed into my bed at 2:17. We stopped caring about normal hours. Maya answered on the second ring. By sunrise, she had arranged a secure meeting and instructed us not to return to work, not to contact Asterion, and not to open the flash drive again. At 7:20, my phone rang. Evan Pierce. I answered. His voice was warm and concerned. Noah, I heard there was an incident at your apartment. I looked at Lena. Only the police, Camille, and we knew. How did you hear? I asked. A pause. Then Evan said, Camille called me. The man I had trusted for 9 years continued speaking. You need to come into the office before your roommate destroys both our careers. Evan wanted me in conference room 12 at 9. Maya wanted me nowhere near Kendall without counsel. I compromised by meeting my boss in the glass lobby of our office building with Maya seated beside me and Lena waiting in a cafe across the street. Evan arrived 5 minutes late wearing the same navy suit he wore when he needed a room to trust him before he spoke. He stopped when he saw Maya. This was supposed to be an internal conversation. Maya extended her hand. Maya Chen. Counsel for Ms. Ortiz. I know who you are. That saves time. Evan looked at me. Noah, can we talk privately? No. The answer felt unnatural. For 9 years, Evan had been the person I called when a client threatened litigation, when a report stopped making sense, or when I doubted whether I was ready for promotion. Saying no to him felt like refusing gravity. He sat across from us. Camille says Lena stole protected health information and tried to recruit you into an extortion scheme. Did Camille tell you she entered my apartment at 2 in the morning? She was attempting to recover company property. With an old key. Evan rubbed one hand over his tie. This is complicated. Then simplify it. Did Asterion replace the adverse event dataset after Kendall completed reconciliation? Maya touched my sleeve. Careful. Evan's gaze sharpened. Where did you hear that? Answer the question. I cannot discuss confidential client information in a lobby. You called me here to discuss confidential client information. His expression changed by a degree. The mentor disappeared. The partner remained. Your roommate has compromised your judgment. That is not an answer either. Evan leaned closer. The appendix you signed was accurate based on the information provided to our team. Was the dataset later replaced? I don't know. He lied badly. Not because he lacked skill. Because I knew the exact rhythm of his honest answers. Evan took 1 breath before difficult truth and 2 before strategic avoidance. He had taken 2. Maya placed a letter on the table. This is notice that Ms. Ortiz is preserving evidence for a federal whistleblower submission. Any effort to terminate, threaten, surveil, or discredit her after today may constitute retaliation. Evan did not touch the letter. He looked only at me. If you walk out with her, you are suspended pending review. Am I accused of misconduct? You failed to disclose that you shared a residence with an Asterian employee. I did not know Asterian was relevant to her move. Your ignorance does not remove the conflict. The irony was almost elegant. A man who might have helped conceal patient deaths was suspending me for failing to disclose a roommate. Maya gathered her files. We are finished. Evan said my name. I stood. He lowered his voice. You built a good life here. I thought so. Do not throw it away because a frightened woman climbed into your bed. The sentence told me Camille had given him details only 3 people knew. I looked across the street. Lena sat near the cafe window with both hands around a coffee cup she had not touched. This is not about my bed, I said. It will be when the newspapers write it. Evan's eyes held mine. They will say she manipulated her former female partner, moved in with a male auditor, and changed her story when she was caught stealing. They will turn her private life into the explanation for every missing record. Maya said, "Thank you for previewing the retaliation strategy." Evan finally looked at her. You are not as protected as you think. No one is, Maya said. That is why people keep records. Outside, Lena stood when she saw us. What happened? I'm suspended. Her face collapsed. I'm sorry. I know. You should separate yourself from me. That advice arrived from someone I trust less. Noah, they will use us. There is no us. The words came out harsher than intended. Lena flinched. I corrected myself. There is no romantic relationship for them to use. There is a housing arrangement, a police report, and evidence. She looked toward the street. Right. Maya watched both of us with the patient exhaustion of an attorney who could already see future complications. We need to move you out of the apartment, she said to Lena. Lena looked at me. Agreed, I said. That surprised her. The apartment is compromised. Camille had a key. Evan knows the address. We need distance while we determine whether anything between us was real or just proximity and emergency. Pain crossed her face again. Where do I go? Maya had arranged a short-term rental in Queens under her firm's name. We returned to the apartment with 2 off-duty officers to collect Lena's belongings. Someone had entered while we were gone. The front lock showed no damage. Drawers stood open. My work files covered the living room floor. Lena's room had been searched more carefully. Mattress lifted. Closet emptied. Books opened and shaken. On my desk sat a company flash drive I had never seen. Maya stopped me before I touched it. Photograph everything. The drive carried a Kendall asset tag. Inside, police later found copies of patient records from Asterian. Evidence planted in my home to prove Lena stole files through me. I looked at the apartment that had felt safe that morning. Lena stood in the doorway of her room with tears on her face. I brought this here. No, I said. Someone else did. I chose you because of Kendall. And then? She looked at me. And then you became the first person I didn't want to use. I believed the pain in her voice. I did not yet know whether I believed the sentence. Lena moved into the Queen's rental that afternoon. I stayed at the apartment because leaving immediately would make it easier for whoever planted the drive to enter again. Maya installed 2 cameras and taught me how to preserve footage without contaminating metadata. For the first time in months, the second bedroom was empty. The silence was worse than I expected. Lena had not been loud. Her absence had a sound anyway. No kettle at 7. No footsteps crossing the hall after midnight. No sarcastic comments from the kitchen when I watched baseball. I told myself I missed routine, not her. At 11 that evening, she texted. Are you safe? I typed yes, then deleted it. I wrote, "Cameras are working. Door is secure." Her response came immediately. That wasn't what I asked. I stared at the screen. Finally, I answered, "I don't know yet." The next morning, Maya arranged a meeting at her office. Lena sat at the far side of the conference table. The deliberate distance felt more intimate than sitting beside her would have. Maya opened a notebook. "Before we submit anything, I need complete disclosure. Not the version that makes either of you look reasonable. The version opposing counsel will find." She turned to Lena. "Start with why you moved in." Lena folded her hands. After leaving Camille, she spent 6 weeks in hotels and friends' apartments. Camille controlled their lease, shared accounts, phone plan, and most professional references. When Lena applied for other positions, Asterian's Human Resources Department described her as under internal review. No formal allegation existed. The phrase was enough to stop interviews. Lena began gathering proof that Camille had used her credentials to change clinical classifications. She saw my name on the Independent Controls Appendix. Then she found my apartment listing through a neighborhood group. "You believed I had access to Kendall's internal archive," I said. "Yes. Did you choose the room to steal from me?" "I chose it to learn whether you knew." "That is a better sentence, not a different act." "I know. Did you inspect my mail?" "Once." "What?" "A Kendall envelope left on the entry table." My anger returned. "Did you open it?" "No." "Why not?" "Because it was addressed to you. You had already built a plan around deceiving me." "Yes." Maya interrupted. "Keep going." Lena had intended to search my work laptop if I left it unlocked. I never did. The opportunity came during my flu. I fell asleep on the sofa with the computer open beside me. Lena closed it and placed it on my desk. "That was the night you sat outside the bathroom with me," she said. I remembered. She had received the legal package from Camille. I had offered company without questions. "You changed your plan because I was kind to you?" "No." Her eyes met mine. "I changed it because you treated my fear as something to respect instead of something you could use." Maya made a note. "Now the sexuality issue." Lena looked uncomfortable. "I have identified as bisexual since college. Almost all my serious relationships were with women. After Camille, I did not want any relationship." "You told me you only dated women," I said. "Yes." "Why not say you weren't interested?" "Because men argue with that." "I wouldn't have. I did not know you." That was fair. It did not erase the lie. Lena continued. "I also knew I found you attractive." Maya looked up from her notes. "From the beginning?" "Yes." I shifted in my chair. Lena's voice became quieter. "Saying I only dated women gave me a boundary I thought I could not cross. It protected me from being vulnerable, protected him from my hidden motive, and made the apartment feel less dangerous." "Until you climbed into his bed," Maya said. "I was afraid Camille would see me through the open doorway. Noah's room had the only lock with a chain. You could have hidden in the closet." "I know." The room became still. I looked at her. "Why didn't you?" Lena's eyes filled. "Because I wanted to be near the one person I believed would not hand me back to her." The answer landed somewhere beneath anger. Maya turned to me. "Your disclosure. I didn't know anything. That is not complete." I thought of the weeks before the incident. I was attracted to her. Lena went still. "I did nothing because she said she only dated women and because she was my roommate." "Did you resent the boundary?" Maya asked. "No." "Did you ever hope it would change?" I looked at Lena. "Yes." Her breath caught. Maya closed the notebook. Good. Now we know what the other side will do. They will claim Lena manufactured an identity to gain access to Noah, then seduced him when the fraud scheme began. They will claim Noah ignored conflicts because he wanted her. They will make the relationship the story so no one examines the patients. There is no relationship, I said again. Maya's expression was unsympathetic. There is emotional material. Courts, companies, and newspapers do not need a formal relationship to weaponize it. She slid 2 documents toward us. One was a preservation notice. The other was a temporary contact protocol. We would communicate only about evidence through a monitored channel. No private meetings. No entering each other's temporary residence. No physical relationship while the investigation remained active. Lena signed first. I signed second. The rule felt necessary. It also felt like loss. The first major break came from a dead woman. Her name was Jenna Wallace, a clinical site coordinator in Ohio. 3 weeks before Lena copied the Asterian files, Jenna died when her car crossed the center line on a rural highway. Police classified the crash as driver fatigue. Lena believed Jenna had been preparing to report pulse-core failures. Why? I asked during a video call arranged by Maya. Jenna called me the night before she died. She asked whether deleted events remained in the audit archive. What did you tell her? That they should. Should. Asterian's retention system was controlled by Camille's team. Jenna mailed a package before the crash. It never reached Lena. Tracking showed delivery to Asterian headquarters, where an executive assistant signed for it. Maya subpoenaed the mail log through a preliminary whistleblower action. The signature belonged to Camille's assistant, but the package was not listed in evidence storage. I reviewed Asterian's vendor invoices from public filings. One payment stood out. A private document destruction firm received an emergency fee the day after Jenna died. The invoice number had been included in a Kendall sample I remembered testing. I found my old work paper in a personal backup permitted under company policy. The description originally read, Records Consolidation, Ohio Clinical Sites. The final archive version read, Routine Office Relocation. Someone changed the description after my review. The edit history pointed to Evan's account. I sent the record to Maya. 2 hours later, Evan called. You are accessing Kendall property while suspended. The work paper was in my approved personal archive. You are obligated to return all materials. I preserved evidence of post-review alteration. His silence told me enough. Then he changed strategies. Noah, you do not understand what Lena is doing. Explain it. She approached you deliberately. She admitted it. Yes. She lied about her identity. She lied about a boundary, not her name. She is using your attraction. The statement should have embarrassed me. Instead, it clarified how much information Camille had shared with him. Did you know Camille had Lena's apartment key? Do not change the subject. Did you help her obtain my address? Evan exhaled. You were assigned to Asterian. Your address was in conflict records. Did you give it to her? I may have confirmed it after she said company property was missing. You sent someone who had threatened my roommate to my home. Your roommate is not a victim simply because she is frightened. No. Evidence makes her a victim. And what makes you? The question was meant to wound. It worked. I had signed the appendix. Even if my team was deceived, my name gave credibility to the report. Evan softened his voice. Come back. Cooperate with the internal investigation. State that Lena targeted you and accessed your files without permission. We can protect your license. What happens to her? That is not your responsibility. I remembered Camille using nearly the same words at the bedroom door. This is not your concern. Did you alter the document destruction invoice? I asked. The line went quiet. Then Evan said, "You are making a serious mistake." He ended the call. That evening, the cameras in my apartment captured a man entering with a management key. He wore a maintenance uniform and carried a toolbox. He went directly to the desk where police had removed the planted flash drive. He searched beneath the drawers, behind the router, and inside the air vent. Then he entered Lena's old room and removed the basil pot from the windowsill. The dead plant had remained because neither of us bothered to throw it away. Inside the pot, beneath the dry soil, the man found a small plastic capsule. He slipped it into his pocket. I watched the footage live from Maya's office. Lena stared at the screen. "I didn't put that there." "Then who did?" Her face changed. "Jenna visited me once, before I moved in. She helped carry boxes." The police stopped the man in the lobby. The capsule contained a micro-SD card. Jenna had hidden it inside the only object Lena insisted on bringing from her old apartment. The basil plant. The card held 17 original patient files, audio recordings, and a video from Asterian's underground garage. Camille stood beside Evan Pierce. Jenna filmed from inside another vehicle. Camille said, "The omitted cases never reached the audit archive." Evan answered, "You promised the device failures were contained." "They are, if your team signs the appendix." "And if Bennett notices the extraction dates?" "He won't. He trusts you." The video ended. I sat in silence. Lena did not offer comfort. That was another reason I trusted her. She allowed betrayal to hurt without rushing to make the pain useful to herself. Maya copied the files into federal evidence storage. Then she looked at us. "This is enough to open an investigation." "Is it enough to protect Lena?" I asked. "No." "Why?" "Because Camille will say the recording is edited, Jenna was unstable, and Lena planted the card. We need a living witness or the original server logs." Lena looked at the frozen image of Camille on the screen. "I know where the original logs are." Maya's eyes narrowed. "Where?" "In Camille's private archive." "And how do you intend to access that?" Lena looked at me. "She invited us to Asterian's approval gala." My phone vibrated. An electronic invitation appeared. "Asterian Therapeutics requests the pleasure of your company as we celebrate PulseCore's regulatory milestone." Below it was a personal message from Camille. "Come together. Let everyone see what you chose." Asterian held its approval gala in the glass atrium of a hotel overlooking Central Park. The invitation list included investors, physicians, lobbyists, journalists, and regulators who had spent years hearing that PulseCore would save thousands of lives. Maya wanted us nowhere near it. Lena wanted the original server logs. I wanted Camille to make one mistake in a room filled with witnesses. We compromised in the way frightened people often do, by calling a dangerous plan controlled because we had written it down. Lena still possessed an employee credential that had not been formally deactivated. Camille had suspended her but avoided termination because firing a potential whistleblower would create a record. The private archive was located on the 36th floor of Asterian's adjoining office tower. During the gala, executive security would focus on the hotel. Maya arranged federal agents nearby but warned they could not enter without evidence of an immediate crime or a warrant. "You are not stealing," she reminded Lena. "You are preserving records relevant to patient safety and your own defense. Take nothing unrelated." She turned to me. "You do not enter the archive." "Why?" "Because you never worked for Asterian. Your presence turns preservation into conspiracy. So I stand at the party while she takes the risk. You stand where cameras can prove you did not help." Lena said, "She's right." I hated both of them for being correct. We arrived separately. Lena wore a dark green dress with long sleeves and no jewelry except a silver ring on her right hand. I had seen the ring before in old photographs with Camille. "You wore that for her?" I asked when we crossed paths near the coat check. "For the access chip hidden inside it." "That is less romantic." Significantly. Her mouth curved, then the expression disappeared as Camille approached. "Camille wore white." Of course she did. She moved through the crowd like the event had been built around her. Investors touched her arm. Physicians leaned closer when she spoke. A senator laughed too loudly at something she said. When she reached us, her smile became intimate. "You came." Lena's shoulders tightened. I stepped half a pace nearer without touching her. Camille noticed. "Still pretending this is about patient data?" she asked. "It is," Lena said. Camille looked at me. "And you? Are you here as her roommate, her auditor, or the man waiting for her identity to become convenient? Which answer worries you most?" Her smile held. "None. People understand betrayal when sex is involved. It gives them a story simpler than spreadsheets." A photographer turned toward us. Camille placed one hand lightly on Lena's elbow. Lena stepped away. The photographer captured the movement. Camille lowered her voice. "You have until midnight to return the archive copy and sign the statement." "What statement?" I asked. "That Lena acted alone, accessed Noah's materials, and fabricated concerns after our relationship ended." "You wrote my confession too?" "Your employer has prepared language." Evan appeared behind her. The sight of him hurt more than it should have. He looked tired, not guilty. That was somehow worse. Guilty people belonged to another category. Tired people still expected sympathy. "Noah," he said. "We can fix this privately." "Can the dead patient be fixed privately?" His jaw tightened. Camille glanced toward the stage. "We are about to announce approval. If you disrupt this event, investors lose billions, employees lose jobs, and patients lose access to a device that works in more than 99% of cases." Lena said, 17 people were removed from the denominator. "Every technology has complications. Then disclose them." Camille's eyes hardened. "You always needed the world to be morally simple." "No," Lena said. "I needed you to stop calling harm complicated when it made you money." The stage lights changed. Camille walked away to deliver her speech. Lena looked at the clock. 20 minutes. She entered the office tower through the shared executive corridor. I remained in the atrium. Camille stood beneath a screen displaying the PulseCore device. She spoke about innovation, trust, and the families who would sleep better knowing their doctors could see danger before it arrived. Evan stood beside me. "You think she loves you?" he asked. I kept my eyes on the stage. "This is not the place. She moved into your home to investigate you." "I know. She lied about who she was attracted to." "I know. She climbed into your bed the night she needed protection." "I know. And you still believe her?" "I believe the server logs." He looked toward me. "You always hide inside evidence because feelings frighten you. That criticism would matter more from someone who didn't alter my work." Evan's face changed. "I protected your report. You used it. The company would have replaced us with another auditor. At least I kept the engagement where we could monitor it." By signing false controls? By choosing the least destructive option. On stage, Camille accepted applause. Evan continued. "People think ethics is refusing compromise. Real ethics is deciding which damage the system can survive." A message arrived from Lena. "Archive empty." It was moved. Then another. Someone locked the floor. I looked toward the office tower entrance. 2 security officers crossed the corridor. Evan saw my expression. What happened? I understood then. He did not know about the trap. Camille had used him too. I moved toward the elevators. Evan caught my arm. You cannot go up there. She's locked inside. If you run now, every camera proves coordination. I pulled free. Then the cameras can also prove I did not leave her there. The elevators had been disabled. I took the stairs. 36 floors in formal shoes taught me several things about regret. At the 32nd floor, the fire alarm began. Guests evacuated downward while I forced my way up against the flow. Smoke entered the stairwell near the executive archive. The fire was small and deliberate, set inside a records room to trigger suppression systems and destroy drives. I found Lena behind a locked glass door, striking the access panel with a metal chair. A security officer lay unconscious beside her. I used the emergency hammer to break the glass. Lena climbed through. Did you get anything? I asked. She held up the silver ring. The archive was moved, but the access system recorded the transfer destination. Where? Camille's country house. The unconscious guard began moving. We helped him toward the stairs. Below us, an explosion shook the building. Not large enough to collapse it. Large enough to make the evening's headlines about a fire rather than missing patient data. Camille met us outside among fire engines and cameras. She wrapped a blanket around Lena's shoulders before anyone could stop her. To the press, it looked tender. Her mouth remained beside Lena's ear. You should have chosen me when I offered. Lena stepped back. I did choose you once. Camille smiled. And look what it cost. I took the blanket from Lena and handed it to a paramedic. Camille looked at me. Do you know what she does when she is scared, Noah? Yes, I said. She climbs into the wrong bed. Lena stared at me. Camille's smile widened. Then I continued. And then she gets out before fear can pretend it was consent. The smile disappeared. We walked away together without touching. The access record placed the archive at a property in Connecticut owned by an Asterian subsidiary. Maya obtained an emergency preservation order by arguing that the Gala fire showed immediate risk of evidence destruction. Federal agents searched the country house 48 hours later. They found empty server racks. They also found blood on the basement floor. The blood belonged to David Lynn, Asterian's former systems administrator, who had disappeared 3 weeks earlier. David was alive. A hospital admitted him under another name after a driver found him beside a rural road. He had a fractured skull, 2 broken ribs, and no memory of the previous month. When agents showed him photographs, he recognized Lena. She asked me for the raw audit logs, he said. He recognized Camille too. His heart rate spiked so severely that the interview ended. The original servers remained missing. Camille issued a statement claiming the country house had been used by a third-party cybersecurity vendor and that she had no knowledge of violence there. Asterian placed her on temporary leave. Investors praised the company for acting quickly. No one mentioned the 17 patients. The public story focused on Lena and me. Auditor's roommate at Center of Corporate Espionage Investigation. Whistleblower hid sexual relationship with independent reviewer. Former same-sex partner claims harassment and theft. There had been no sexual relationship. Facts did not fit in headlines as comfortably as implication. Someone leaked the police report stating Lena had been found in my bed. My sister Hannah called from New Jersey. Mom saw the article. I assumed the family group chat would eventually become evidence. Are you sleeping with your roommate? No. Do you want to? That is not legally relevant. So yes. I closed my eyes. Hannah was an employment attorney and the only person in my family who treated discomfort as an invitation. She lied to me, I said. About being attracted to men? About why she moved in. That is more important. I know. Do you trust her? On the evidence, yes. That was not my question. I looked through the apartment window at the fire escape where Lena once grew herbs before the basil died. I trust that she will tell me the truth when it makes her look bad. Hannah was quiet. That is not nothing. No. It is also not the same as being ready for a relationship. I know. Good. Because rescuing someone from an abusive ex can feel like intimacy when it is actually adrenaline with paperwork. I laughed despite myself. Did Maya call you? No. I have met humans before. The next day, Asterian's attorneys offered Lena a settlement. $3 million. A neutral employment reference. Payment of legal fees. In exchange, she would return all records, withdraw the whistleblower complaint, and state that concerns arose from a personal dispute with Camille. Lena rejected it in 6 minutes. Maya wanted her to take at least 6 hours. I know the answer, Lena said. You should know the consequences too, Maya replied. You may be unemployable in your field for years. Litigation could last longer. $3 million buys safety. It buys Camille silence. It buys you a home she cannot enter. Lena looked toward me across the conference room. I already tried living in a home built on a lie. She rejected the offer. That evening, she sent me a message through the monitored channel. I need to tell you one more thing before they find it. We met at Maya's office. Lena placed an old photograph on the table. It showed her, Camille, and Evan at an Asterian holiday party 3 years earlier. Evan's hand rested against Lena's back. What am I looking at? I asked. Evan and I met before I moved into your apartment. My stomach tightened. How? He interviewed me privately after Jenna first raised concerns. He said Kendall wanted an internal source. Did he recruit you? At first, I thought so. And then? He asked me to identify which records Jenna had copied. He was protecting Camille, not investigating her. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew he was your mentor. That is not your decision. I know. You keep saying that after deciding for me. Lena flinched. I stood and walked toward the window. Every revelation seemed to arrive with the same shape. She lied to protect herself. She lied to protect me. She lied because she believed the truth would make me choose someone else. Did you ever plan to involve me honestly? I asked. Yes. When? When I had enough proof that you could hear it without losing everything. That moment does not exist. I understand that now. I turned toward her. Do you? Tears filled her eyes. Yes. I wanted to comfort her. That desire made me angry too. I left without touching her. A week later, someone fired 2 shots through the windows of the Queen's rental. Lena was not inside. Maya had taken her to dinner after a deposition. The bullet struck the wall above the bed. The message was clear enough that federal investigators moved Lena into a protected hotel under another name. I learned where only because I was asked to identify a suspicious vehicle seen near my apartment. Maya refused to give me the room number. That is safer, she said. For whom? Both of you. 3 nights later, a winter storm shut down the highways. Maya called at midnight. Lena had suffered a panic attack after the hotel fire alarm malfunctioned. The federal contact assigned to her was trapped across town. Can you talk to her? Maya asked. You created a protocol. I am creating an exception. Why me? Because she asked for you and because I am making the least bad choice available. I spoke to Lena by video. She sat on the hotel room floor beside the bed, wrapped in a blanket. Her face was pale. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "Needing you. That is not an offense. It becomes one when I keep using emergencies to get close." The awareness in the sentence mattered. "Look at the door," I said. "Is the latch engaged?" "Yes." "Window locked?" "Yes." "Bathroom empty?" "Yes." "Then breathe with me." We stayed on the call for 40 minutes. When her hands stopped shaking, she moved to the bed. "I climbed into your room that night because Camille was outside," she said. "I know. But I climbed into your bed because I wanted to believe there was one place she could not define me." I said nothing. Lena continued. "That was unfair to you." "Yes. I wish you would tell me it wasn't." "I know." A sad smile touched her mouth. "You always were annoyingly careful. I am trying to become more careful, not less." The hotel fire alarm sounded again. Lena froze. I talked her through checking the hallway camera on the room tablet. It was another malfunction. She returned to the screen. "Stay until I fall asleep?" I did. The next morning, someone photographed my face on her laptop screen through the hotel window from a neighboring building. The image appeared online with a new headline. "Auditor spends night with whistleblower in secret hotel." It did not matter that I had been in my own apartment. The photograph looked intimate. Kendall terminated me by noon. The letter cited conflicts, unauthorized retention of client information, and conduct damaging to the firm's reputation. Evan called afterward. "I tried to stop the committee." "You wrote the recommendation." Silence. Maya had obtained the draft through discovery. Evan exhaled. "You forced my hand." "No. You discovered I could no longer be useful." "You think Lena will still be there when this is over?" "This is not about whether she stays. It is always about that in the end." He sounded tired again. For the first time, I understood tiredness could be a disguise for cowardice. "I hope the job was worth it," I said. "It was never just the job." "What, then?" 3,000 employees. Pension funds. Research programs. A device that could still help people. You want villains because villains make sacrifice unnecessary. You changed evidence. I prevented panic. A woman died. Jenna drove into another lane. The answer came too fast. I recorded the call. "How do you know which lane?" I asked. Evan stopped breathing. The public accident report did not identify the lane. Only investigators and whoever saw the crash knew. He ended the call. Federal agents arrested him that evening while he attempted to board a flight to Montreal. Inside his luggage, they found a hardware key belonging to Asterian's missing archive servers. Evan requested an attorney. He also requested protection from Camille. The case changed overnight. Not enough to end. Enough to become dangerous for the people who had believed they controlled it. Evan cooperated after 48 hours. He admitted altering Kendall work papers, helping Asterian replace datasets, and arranging the destruction of records from Jenna's Ohio site. He denied causing Jenna's death. He claimed Camille ordered a security contractor to frighten her into silence and the confrontation became violent. According to Evan, the contractor forced Jenna's car off the road. Camille then used Asterian funds to hide the payment. The original servers were stored inside a disaster recovery facility in Pennsylvania under a false corporate name. Federal agents recovered them. The logs showed everything. 17 adverse events removed. Lena's credentials duplicated from an executive device. Camille approving reclassification language. Evan altering audit descriptions. Payments to the contractor connected to Jenna's crash. The evidence was strong enough for arrests. Camille disappeared 6 hours before the warrant was issued. Her passport remained unused. Her company car was found near LaGuardia Airport. Security footage showed her entering a taxi in a dark wig. The driver dropped her near my old apartment. Police arrived 20 minutes later. She was gone. On my kitchen counter sat the silver ring Lena had worn at the gala. It had been taken into evidence after the fire. No one knew how Camille recovered it. Beneath the ring was a note. Ask her who she chose first. I called Maya. She told me not to touch anything. Lena was moved again. For the next 2 days, no one would tell me where. Then Camille sent a video to 3 news organizations. She sat inside an unfamiliar room, composed and perfectly dressed. She described herself as the target of a revenge campaign by a former lover and a compromised auditor. She said Lena began stealing information after Camille refused to reconcile. She said I had offered to suppress audit findings in exchange for a position at Esterian. Then she played an audio recording. Lena's voice said, "If Noah gives me the archive access, I can make Camille disappear." The recording sounded genuine. It was also incomplete. Lena later explained the full sentence had been, "If Noah gives me the archive access history, I can make Camille disappear from the approval chain." Editing removed 5 words. The public did not wait for forensic analysis. Protesters appeared outside Maya's office. Lena received threats from people who believed she had sabotaged a life-saving device for romantic revenge. I received messages from strangers explaining what men should do to deceptive women. Maya read 3 before taking my phone away. "This is what Camille wants," she said. She cannot defeat the server logs, so she is trying to make a jury hate Lena before one is selected. Where is she? We do not know. She came into my apartment. Or sent someone. She left the ring because she wanted me to confront Lena. Then do not. I looked at Maya. What does the note mean? Maya hesitated. That is Lena's information to tell. You know. Yes. The familiar anger returned. Everyone deciding what truth I could manage. Call her. Maya refused. I left. An hour later, Lena called me through the monitored line. You saw the note. Yes. I chose Camille first. I assumed your relationship began before you met me. That is not what she means. I waited. Lena's voice shook. After I moved into your apartment, Camille offered me a deal. She would stop blacklisting me and restore the patient events if I returned to her and told her what Kendall knew. When? 3 weeks after I moved in. What did you do? I agreed to meet her. That is not an answer. I kissed her. The words were quiet. They still struck hard. Lena continued before I could speak. I thought I could make her believe I wanted to come back. I wanted access to her device. I copied the archive key while she was in the shower. Did you sleep with her? No. Why didn't you tell me? Because we were not together. Because you believed I only dated women. Because I was ashamed. Because every truth made my original lie worse. I walked to the window. You were living in my home while pretending to reconcile with her to steal access. Yes. And you let me think the danger started the night she entered the apartment. Yes. Did she hurt you? Lena was silent for too long. Emotionally? I asked. She grabbed me when I tried to leave. I got away. The anger changed direction without disappearing. Did you go back again? No. Did you choose her? I chose the evidence. I used the relationship the way she had used me. That is not something to be proud of. I'm not. I heard her crying. I did not rescue her from the feeling. Why tell me now? Because Camille is right about one thing. You cannot choose the truth if I keep editing myself. We remained silent. Then Lena said, I love you. I closed my eyes. The timing was terrible. Maybe that made it honest. I don't know what to do with that, I said. You don't have to do anything. Do you expect me to say it back? No. Do you expect me to wait? No. What do you expect? That you believe I am done hiding. I believe you want to be. It was the most I could offer. Lena accepted it. Camille was found because she could not stop controlling the story. She sent another message to Lena from a burner phone. Meet me where you first lied to him. Lena understood immediately. The apartment. The place where she told me she only dated women. Federal agents prepared the building for surveillance. They wanted Lena to respond and arrange a meeting. I objected. Maya reminded me the decision belonged to Lena. That sentence had become an education. Lena agreed on 2 conditions. No weapon on her. No hidden officer inside the apartment. Camille knew how Lena responded when she felt trapped. Too many people in the room could provoke violence. Agents placed cameras in the hall and units above and below. I waited in a surveillance van across the street. At midnight, Camille entered the building using the landlord's emergency key. We later learned she obtained it by threatening his undocumented nephew with immigration exposure. Lena waited in the living room. The apartment looked almost unchanged. My chair near the window. The painter's tape still dividing refrigerator shelves. The empty space where the basil plant had stood. Camille entered wearing jeans and a black coat. Without the executive clothing, she looked younger. More dangerous too. You kept the apartment, she said. It belongs to Noah. Everything belongs to Noah now. No. Camille walked through the room, touching objects as though evaluating a house she might buy. You told him. Everything. Did you tell him you kissed me after moving in? Yes. Camille's expression flickered. Did he forgive you? That is not why I told him. Of course it is. Every confession is a negotiation. Lena remained near the kitchen island. You think honesty is only useful when it changes the outcome. Honesty is a tool like any other. That is why you lost. Camille laughed. I have not lost. PulseCore will be sold through a subsidiary. Asterion will pay a fine. Evan will take a plea. Investors will recover. In 5 years, the device will have a new name and everyone will call the scandal a governance failure. Jenna will still be dead. Camille's face hardened. She made a reckless decision. She reported patient deaths. She threatened an entire research program because she did not understand proportionality. Did you order the contractor to stop her? Camille moved closer. I ordered him to recover documents. Did you know he forced her car off the road? I knew afterward. And you paid him. I contained the damage. In the van, an agent quietly confirmed the confession had been captured. They still waited. Camille reached into her coat. My body moved before the agents did. I opened the van door. Maya caught my arm. Wait. Camille removed a second phone, not a weapon. She placed it on the counter. This contains every personal message you sent me, she told Lena. Photographs. Medical records. Your mother's hospital bills. Everything you trusted me with. What do you want? Come with me. State that Noah manipulated you after discovering your access. We leave before the hearing. You still think this is about choosing between you and him? It is. No. Lena's voice remained calm. It is about choosing who I become when I am afraid. Camille's composure cracked. You would have nothing without me. I had nothing with you that was mine. Camille slapped her. Agents moved toward the building. Lena did not strike back. Camille grabbed her by the shoulders. I loved you. You loved access. Camille shoved her against the counter. Lena reached for the panic button beneath the edge. Camille saw the movement and pulled a small handgun from the back of her waistband. The apartment door burst open. Agents shouted. Camille turned toward them. Lena caught her wrist. The gun fired into the ceiling. Both women fell. Agents disarmed Camille within seconds. I reached the apartment as they brought her into the hall. She looked at me over an officer's shoulder. You think she chose you? I did not answer. Lena sat on the kitchen floor, holding one hand against her bleeding lip. I stopped several feet away. Can I come closer? She nodded. I knelt beside her. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Lena looked toward the bedroom hallway. The first night I lived here, I told you I only dated women. I remember. I wanted you to be safe from me. That was not your decision. I know. This time, the words did not sound like an apology repeated after damage. They sounded like understanding. I held out my hand. Lena took it. Not because she needed somewhere to hide. Because she chose the contact. The congressional hearing took place 6 months later. By then, Camille had been charged with evidence tampering, obstruction, witness retaliation, unlawful entry, assault, and conspiracy related to Jenna's death. Evan pleaded guilty to falsifying audit records and cooperating in the destruction of evidence. Asterian's chief executive resigned with a compensation package large enough to make accountability look decorative. Pulse Core approval was suspended. Independent physicians reviewed every patient case. The device was not useless. It was simply less safe than the company had claimed. That distinction mattered to the families whose complications had been erased. Lena testified first. Cameras filled the room. She described the altered classifications, duplicated credentials, and pressure from Camille. One senator spent more time asking about their relationship than the medical data. Ms. Ortiz, you were romantically involved with Ms. Ross? Yes. And later moved into the home of Mr. Bennett, whose firm audited Asterian? Yes. You told Mr. Bennett you were exclusively interested in women? I told him I only dated women. Was that false? It was an incomplete description used to create distance while I was hiding my motive for moving in. So you lied? Yes. The direct answer disrupted him. Lena continued. I also copied company files without authorization, concealed information from Mr. Bennett, and used a personal reconciliation with Ms. Ross to obtain an archive key. Her attorney shifted, but Lena kept speaking. Those choices should be examined. They do not change whether 17 patient events were removed. The senator tried again. Were you in love with Mr. Bennett while gathering evidence? Lena looked toward me in the audience. Yes. Whispers moved through the room. Did that affect your actions? Yes. It made me more afraid to tell him the truth. Then how can this committee trust your judgment? Lena's voice remained steady. You should not trust my feelings. You should examine the server logs. That sentence became the evening headline. Not the romance. The evidence. I testified the next day. I admitted signing the audit appendix. I explained the clean dataset supplied to Kendall, the later substitution, and Evans' alterations. A different senator asked whether Lena manipulated me. Yes, I said. Lena's face changed. I continued. She selected my apartment because of my employment and withheld information. I was also manipulated by my mentor, my client, and my own belief that a signed report meant I had completed my responsibility. Are you equating Ms. Ortiz's conduct with corporate fraud? No. I am saying manipulation does not erase evidence, and being deceived does not erase my obligation to ask what I missed. Did you choose Ms. Ortiz over your employer? No. The room quieted. I chose the records over both of them. Lena looked down. Later, she told me that answer hurt. It also made her trust me more. The committee referred the audit failures to regulators. Kendall lost several major clients. Partners who had ignored warning signs blamed Evan alone. I filed a wrongful termination claim but refused an offer to return. A smaller public interest accounting firm hired me to build a healthcare whistleblower practice. My new office had second-hand furniture and no view. I liked it immediately. Lena's career recovered more slowly. No pharmaceutical company wanted the woman who had exposed Asterion. A university medical center hired her to develop clinical data integrity systems. She moved into a studio apartment in Park Slope. For the first time since she left Camille, every key belonged only to her. Camille's attorneys tried to turn every room into the apartment at 2:17 in the morning. At Lena's deposition, they placed enlarged photographs on an easel. The apartment hallway. The chained bedroom door. The hotel photograph of my face on Lena's laptop screen. A picture from the gala showing my hand near the small of her back, though I had never touched her. The attorney asking questions was named Richard Vale. He had silver hair, a patient voice, and the professionally wounded expression of a man disappointed by everyone else's dishonesty. Ms. Ortiz, he said, you selected Mr. Bennett's apartment because he worked for the audit firm reviewing Asterion. Yes. You misrepresented your intentions. Yes. You misrepresented your romantic availability. Maya objected to the wording. Lena answered anyway. I used a statement about my dating history to establish a boundary and conceal attraction I did not intend to act on. Vale looked almost pleased. So the statement was false. It was overly absolute. Did you or did you not tell Mr. Bennett that you only dated women? I did. And while living in his home, you kissed Camille Ross to gain access to her device? Yes. And later climbed into Mr. Bennett's bed? Yes. Vale turned toward the court reporter as though the pattern had completed itself. You moved between a female executive and a male auditor while stealing information from both employers. Maya said, that was not a question. Vale ignored her. Did you tell either person the full truth before using their trust? Lena sat very still. No. I watched from the observation room through one-way glass. Every instinct wanted me to enter, object, and explain that the individual statements formed a dishonest picture. But the statements were true. That was the weapon. Camille had built her defense around a simple idea: a deceptive witness could not expose anyone else's deception. Vale continued for 6 hours. He asked about Lena's mother, her medical bills, her first girlfriend, the end of her relationship with Camille, and every evening she spent alone with me. He asked what she wore when she entered my room. Maya stopped the question. He asked whether Lena knew I was attracted to her. Yes, she said. When? Before he admitted it. And you used that attraction? I tried not to. That was not the question. Lena closed her eyes briefly. Yes. At times, I relied on his concern when I should have given him enough information to choose whether he wanted the risk. Vale leaned back. Why should any jury trust you? Maya objected. Lena answered. They should not trust me because I was frightened or because I became a whistleblower. They should compare my testimony with the servers, access histories, payments, and recordings. Vale's expression tightened. What if the evidence requires interpretation? Then they should use qualified experts instead of my private life. The deposition ended after sunset. Lena emerged from the conference room looking smaller than when she entered. Maya asked whether she wanted a car. I want to walk. I followed at a distance until Lena stopped outside a closed bookstore. "You can come closer," she said without turning. I stood beside her. The streetlights had come on. Fine rain drifted between them, too light for umbrellas and heavy enough to collect in her hair. "He made me sound like a predator," she said. "He arranged true facts to conceal a larger truth. The facts still belong to me." "Yes." She looked at me. "I knew you cared about me. I let that make me feel safer while I kept information from you." "Yes. You could say something comforting." "I could. But you won't. Not if comfort requires pretending." Lena laughed weakly. "I hate that I love this about you." The words no longer shocked me. They frightened me in a quieter way. I had spent most of the case believing that if we ever became a couple, it would validate the accusations. As though Camille, Evan, and the newspapers would gain retroactive ownership of our feelings. "They don't get to decide what happens after the evidence," I said. Lena searched my face. "Is that a promise?" "No. It is permission for both of us not to know yet." We walked another block. At the subway entrance, she said, Vale asked whether I had done this before. "Targeted a roommate? Used a boundary to avoid admitting I was attracted to someone. Have you?" "Once. I waited. In college, my closest friend was a man named Aaron. I told him I could never want him because I was dating women. That was easier than admitting I loved him and was terrified our families would treat my attraction to him as proof that every relationship I had with a woman was temporary." "What happened?" "He moved away. We stopped speaking." "You learned the wrong lesson." "Yes. I learned that certainty prevented rejection." "And now?" "Now I know it only delays it and adds paperwork." I smiled. Lena became serious. "My attraction to you does not make my past relationships less real." "I know. I need you to actually know, not merely say it because you're afraid of sounding ignorant." "I do." I looked at her. "You did not become available to me by proving you could love a man. You became someone I might choose because you stopped using identity, fear, or pain to control the answer." Tears filled her eyes. That was almost romantic. "Do not tell anyone." The train arrived below us with a rush of wind. Lena descended the steps alone. I watched until she disappeared into the crowd. For once, letting her leave did not feel like abandonment. It felt like refusing to turn care into another locked door. During the months before Camille entered a plea, 3 women contacted Lena. All had worked for Esterian. All had been involved with Camille. The first, Dr. Priya Shah, was a cardiologist who served on an early pulse core safety panel. She had dated Camille for less than a year and resigned after disagreeing with the device's risk classification. The second, Morgan Lee, had been Camille's executive assistant. She left Esterian after being accused of leaking internal schedules. The third, Rachel Dunn, worked in communications and signed a non-disclosure agreement after a breakdown that Camille publicly described as burnout. They met at Maya's office on a Saturday morning. I was not invited. That mattered. Lena later told me what they chose to place on the record. Camille did not begin by demanding control. She began by solving problems. She paid a bill before anyone asked. She arranged a specialist appointment. She replaced a broken phone and transferred the old data herself. She learned passwords because sharing them felt intimate and practical. Then solutions became permissions. Permissions became access. Access became evidence that privacy was betrayal. Priya described finding her medical appointments on Camille's calendar. Morgan discovered Camille had redirected her mail. Rachel learned that private messages had been copied before she ended the relationship. None of them had reported it. Each believed she had made unique mistakes too embarrassing to explain. Camille's greatest protection was not money. It was the shame of the people she controlled. The women's testimony established a pattern of unauthorized access and retaliation. It also complicated the easy version of Lena's story. She had not been uniquely deceived. She had recognized some warning signs because she watched Camille use them on others and convinced herself their relationship was different. After the meeting, Lena came to my office. She carried a paper bag containing 2 sandwiches and looked exhausted. "Can I come in?" she asked from the doorway. "Yes." She placed lunch on the desk. "I owe Morgan an apology." "What happened?" "Camille accused her of stealing." I believed Camille. "Did you do anything to Morgan?" "I gave a statement to HR saying she behaved erratically." "Was it false?" "Not exactly. Morgan was frightened and angry." I described the behavior without explaining what Camille had done to cause it. The pattern sounded familiar. True facts arranged to hide a larger truth. "What will you do?" "Correct the statement and apologize without asking her to forgive me." "Good." Lena looked around the small office. "You have a photograph of us." On the shelf stood a picture from Maya's birthday dinner. 8 people around a table. Lena and I at opposite ends. "That is a group photograph." "You cropped Evan out." "He was standing near the edge." "You cut the edge off with scissors." "I practice risk management." She smiled, then grew serious. "Priya asked whether I'm with you." "What did you say?" "That we are not ready." "Accurate." She said waiting can become another way of avoiding choice. "Also accurate." Lena sat across from me. "I don't want Camille to determine the pace of my life after she is gone." "Neither do I. But I also don't want to turn you into proof that she failed to control me. That would be unpleasantly symbolic." "What do you want?" The question was simple. The answer was not. "I want dinner with you without discussing servers, attorneys, or the meaning of the word roommate." "That sounds possible." "I want to know who you are when no one is chasing you." "I'm less interesting." "I am counting on it." "And physically?" The directness surprised me. "I want you," I said. Lena's breath changed. I continued before desire could become the entire conversation. "I do not want the first time we share a bed willingly to feel connected to the night you hid in mine." "What would make it different?" "Time. Privacy. A home where neither of us is trapped by money, danger, or the need for evidence." She considered that. "You really are an auditor." "I am trying not to draft a checklist." "I would read it." We ate lunch. Before leaving, Lena paused at the door. "I spent years believing desire was honest because it felt uncontrollable. And now? Now I think the honest part is what you do after feeling it." She left. That evening, I looked at the group photograph. I did not move it closer to the center of the shelf. I did not put it away either. Lena and I did not begin dating after the hearing. Everyone expected us to. Reporters had already built the story. The deceptive roommate and the auditor who chose her. The woman who climbed into his bed and eventually won his heart. Reality was less efficient. We needed to learn whether affection survived without crisis. For 3 months, we saw each other only in group settings or during scheduled dinners. No unannounced visits. No sleeping over. No discussing the case after 9 in the evening. The rules sounded clinical. They created room for honesty. On our first official date, Lena chose a small Ethiopian restaurant in Queens because neither of us had been there before. "No shared history," she explained. "No traumatic associations. Unless the food is terrible." It was excellent. We talked about subjects unrelated to court filings. Her mother's habit of collecting ceramic birds. My failed attempt to learn guitar in college. The summer Lena worked at a movie theater and watched the same superhero film 73 times. At the end of dinner, we stood outside in the cold. "I want to kiss you," she said. I appreciated the sentence more than I would have appreciated surprise. "Okay." The kiss was brief. No emergency. No X in the hallway. No one watching. Lena stepped back first. "How was that?" "Less dramatic than the internet expected." "Good." We went to separate homes. A month later, I visited her apartment. She handed me a key. I did not take it. Her face fell. "I'm not rejecting you," I said. "I don't want a key until we know what it means. It means you can water the plants. All your plants die. That is why you need access." I smiled but left the key on the counter. 2 weeks later, she asked again. This time, we wrote our names on a small card with the words "emergency use only." I took it. The process would have looked ridiculous to anyone else. To us, it was trust made visible and limited. Camille accepted a plea agreement before trial. She received 12 years in federal prison. At sentencing, she apologized to Asterian investors, employees, and patients. She did not apologize to Lena. Later, Lena received a letter from her. She did not open it alone. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where the flash drive had first appeared between us. The letter contained 6 pages explaining why Camille had done everything for the company, for medical progress, and eventually for Lena. Every paragraph transformed control into sacrifice. At the end, Camille wrote, "You will understand me when Noah disappoints you. Everyone chooses power eventually. At least I was honest about mine." Lena folded the pages. "What do you want to do with it?" I asked. "Keep it." "Why?" "Because destroying evidence is how she taught me to survive." She placed the letter in a folder marked personal history. Then she looked around the apartment. "You changed the lock. Twice. Do you ever think about moving?" "Sometimes. Too many memories. Some good ones too." Her gaze moved toward the hallway. I knew which night she was remembering. "So," Lena said, "when I climbed into your bed. You were terrified. I was also in love with you. You barely knew me. I had known you for 4 months. You had spent 9 years dating women. That did not make you invisible." I looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because attraction felt like another way I might use you." "And now?" "Now I ask." She moved closer but stopped beyond reach. "May I stay tonight?" The question carried no fear. No danger waited outside. "No," I said. Surprise crossed her face. Then I smiled. "Your place has better coffee. I'll stay there." Lena laughed. We left together. 1 year after the night Camille entered our apartment, Lena and I returned to Asterian's former headquarters. The company had been divided and sold. The glass atrium now belonged to a university research consortium. A public memorial had been installed for patients harmed by undisclosed device failures. Jenna Wallace's name appeared near the top. Her parents attended the dedication. Lena stood before them with both hands clasped. "I should have listened sooner," she said. Jenna's mother touched her arm. "You listened when it became dangerous. That does not bring her back." "No." The woman's honesty resembled Lena's. "It helps us know why she died." After the ceremony, I found Lena alone near the glass elevators. "You okay?" "No." "Do you want company?" Her mouth curved faintly. "That is still a different question." We sat on a bench overlooking the park. Lena had been offered a permanent position at the university center. I had been made partner at the public interest firm. Our lives had stabilized enough that people began asking when we would move in together. We had avoided the conversation. Perhaps because our relationship began inside shared walls built on concealed motives. Lena looked at the couples crossing the plaza. "I found an apartment," she said. "For you?" "For us, potentially." I waited. 2 bedrooms, she added quickly. "An office and a guest room. Separate leases if we want. Both names on everything. No one has an emergency key without written permission. You prepared governance terms. I learned from an auditor. Are you asking me to move in? I'm asking whether you want to look at it." The distinction mattered. Yes. We toured the apartment the following Saturday. It had tall windows, a narrow balcony, and a kitchen large enough for 2 people to disagree without blocking the refrigerator. Lena stood in the smaller bedroom. "This can be the office. Or your room when I become unbearable. That assumes you are getting the larger room. We are already negotiating." She looked at me. "Are you afraid?" "Yes." "Me too." "Good. Good. Fear should be information, not a person making decisions." Lena smiled. "You said that the first night. I was smarter in sweatpants." We signed the lease a week later. On move-in day, Lena carried a new basil plant through the door. "That thing is doomed," I said. "This one represents growth. It represents overwatering." We placed it on the kitchen windowsill anyway. The first month was deliberately ordinary. Bills. Laundry. Arguments about cabinet space. One night, I woke at 2:17 and found the other side of the bed empty. Lena stood in the hallway. For a moment, the old fear returned. Then she held up a mug. "Couldn't sleep. Everything okay?" "Yes." She remained at the doorway. "May I come in?" I lifted the blanket. Lena climbed into bed. Slowly this time. No hand over my mouth. No woman outside the door. No stolen files hidden beneath a dead plant. She settled beside me and placed the mug on the nightstand. "I used to think saying I only dated women would keep both of us safe," she said. It did not. "No. Do you regret saying it?" "I regret using certainty to hide confusion." That is a very Lena answer. She turned toward me. I had dated women. I loved women. That part was real. Loving you did not erase it. I know. I needed you to know too. I do. She touched my face. "Can I kiss you?" Yes. The title people would later give our story was simple. My roommate said she only dated women, then one night she climbed into my bed. It sounded like a joke, a fantasy, or a trick ending. It left out the important parts. She climbed into my bed because someone who claimed to love her had entered our home without permission. She stayed in my life because, eventually, she stopped using fear as permission to lie. I loved her not because she changed what kind of person she could desire. I loved her because she learned to tell the truth before she knew whether it would make me stay. And she loved me not because I rescued her from Camille. She loved me because I refused to become another person who confused being needed with being chosen. Lena rested her forehead against mine. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had turned on the light that night?" she asked. "I would have seen you were terrified. And? I would have made the same choice." "Which choice?" "To call the police." She laughed softly. "That is not romantic." It kept the apartment from becoming a crime scene. It became a crime scene anyway. Temporarily. She kissed me again. Outside, the city moved through the dark without asking anyone's permission. Inside, every door belonged equally to both of us. Every key had been given, not taken. And when Lena stayed in my bed, she did so in the open, after asking, with no one left to choose between except the people we had been and the people we were still becoming. We chose the second. 2 years later, the basil plant was still alive. Lena credited improved sunlight, a ceramic watering spike, and her personal growth. I credited the fact that I had taken over its care after the third near-death experience. We argued about this during breakfast on the morning she was scheduled to speak at a national clinical integrity conference. Her presentation was titled "The Cost of Convenient Data." The conference organizers originally wanted something more dramatic involving betrayal, corporate secrets, and the relationship that newspapers still occasionally summarized in one sentence. Lena refused. "The patients are the story," she told them. That decision cost her the keynote position. She accepted a smaller afternoon session and filled the room anyway. I sat near the back while she spoke about access controls, adverse event classification, and the ways institutions train ordinary employees to ignore discomfort until it becomes disaster. She did not describe herself as heroic. She discussed every point at which she could have spoken sooner. Afterward, a young data coordinator approached her in the hallway. The woman held a folder against her chest and kept looking toward the registration desk as though someone might be watching. "My supervisor has been changing dates," she whispered. "I don't know whether it matters." Lena did not ask to see the files. She gave the woman Maya's card, the number for an independent ethics hotline, and instructions for documenting concerns without violating patient privacy. "Most importantly," she said, "you do not have to prove the entire case before asking for help." The sentence stayed with me. It was the advice Lena had needed before moving into my apartment with a hidden plan and a rule she hoped would protect everyone from uncertainty. That evening, we returned home and found a package outside the door. No return address. For a second, both of us stopped breathing. Old fear moved quickly. Lena did not reach for the box. I did not tell her to stand behind me. We called building security, photographed the package, and waited for it to be examined. Inside was a ceramic basil pot from Jenna Wallace's parents. A card read, "For the home where the truth survived long enough to be heard." Lena sat on the hallway floor and cried. I sat beside her. Our apartment door remained open while neighbors passed and pretended not to look. Later, we placed the new pot beside the old one on the kitchen windowsill. "There is room for another plant," Lena said. "No. A rosemary bush would be useful." "You are not ready for rosemary. You said love requires risk." I never applied that principle to herbs. She laughed and leaned against me. That night, Lena paused outside the bedroom as she sometimes still did. Not because she needed permission to enter a room in her own home. Because asking had become one of the ways we remembered that closeness was never automatic. "May I come in?" she asked. "You pay half the rent." "That is not the question." "Yes." She climbed into bed and placed her cold feet against my legs. I objected strongly. She ignored the objection with the confidence of someone who understood the difference between a boundary and reasonable winter complaints. "Do you think people will ever stop asking about the title?" she said. "What title?" "The roommate who said she only dated women and climbed into a man's bed." "Probably not. It makes me sound more mysterious than I was." "You entered my room at 2 in the morning while a pharmaceutical executive broke into the apartment." Mystery was present. I was mostly panicking. That part rarely survives editing. Lena became quiet. "I am glad you did not choose me that night." I turned toward her. She continued. "You chose the police report. Then the files. Then distance. You kept choosing things that gave me the chance to become someone you could trust instead of rewarding me because I needed you. I chose you eventually. In daylight. Yes." She took my hand. Outside, rain began tapping against the windows, softer than it had been the first night. No key turned in the front lock. No one stood in the hallway demanding access. There were no documents beneath the bed and no cameras waiting across the street. Only two people in a room they had entered freely, telling each other the truth before knowing whether it would be convenient. Lena closed her eyes. The bedroom door remained open. Neither of us needed it locked anymore.